Hello everybody. Long time no see. I don't even know how to do this. I have so much to catch you guys up on. I can't even. Happy New Year. Some of you guys that clicked on this video came from my Instagram. Some of y'all are my OGs that saw me. What? She's back on YouTube? Like what? So you clicked right in. And I just want to say, whoever you are, wherever you're watching this video, I really do pray that today, when you leave this video, that it was worth your time. I know the distractions that are all over the place. Okay, can we talk about that? We are in a new year, but like the distractions are everywhere. The noise is everywhere. And I'm actually here at a hotel in Nashville because my husband is so kind and so sweet that that's the Christmas gift he got me this year. You know, he got me a little staycation, which is like 20 minutes from our home here, which by the way, if some of you guys are like, wait, did you say Nashville? Yeah, we moved from Texas to Nashville. That's a whole nother story. But I'm here, I've had a 2-day incredible staycation, and as I'm getting ready to pack up and head home, something in my heart said, put the switch on and record this video. I truthfully was ready to turn the lights out on YouTube. Not because I don't enjoy creating content on this platform, but for me, I knew something had to give. And like last year in 2024, I just decided, okay, if I'm going to be a mom of 3 and manage business, babies, and all the things, I knew I had to figure out like, where can I actually and realistically pour my energy in? Where can I do that? Instagram. It's the easiest platform, it seems, to be able to reach people in a really quick way. You can be as close to real time as possible. And honestly, the little bite-sized content, it's fun, especially if you love creating content. You know, I'm such a storyteller and I love the beauty and the art that can come from connecting with people through content. And so I took the year off from YouTube. I focused on just Instagram. And I will say that Instagram, in terms of the opportunities that came with that platform by just giving it everything, was incredible for me and my family. Like, it was a successful year if we look at the numbers. But I also have to admit, it made me realize taking the year off from doing any long form content, meaning these types of videos and podcasting. It's like I took a complete break from all of that stuff. This whole thing started at like 19 years old when I started interning for another person's website and helping them grow their blog. And then I realized, why am I helping this dude when I can do my own thing? From that time, 19 to 34, I have created long form content, building my blog, being on the YouTube channel. So many of you guys are my like OGs that are here that I just basically walked away from and was like, I just can't do this anymore. I feel like preoccupied with family and also how much can I actually give when I genuinely am in a season of life where I'm so drenched in motherhood. I'm so depleted, truthfully, from trying to give my babies my all, focus on nurturing, loving my husband, our marriage. So when it came to what I can pour into for social media, I just knew I can only focus on one thing. What's it gonna be, Saz? And I said, I'll go with Instagram. And so while having my 3rd child, it was really nice that I could still very much keep up with this whole creating content, influencer world. And I genuinely feel like it was an outlet for me. But it was also very much a growing lesson because I learned by the end of 2024, as fun and as overstimulating as Instagram can be, I just felt this conviction in my heart. And I felt like, okay, the time and energy that I have to spend on these platforms, I can't imagine the normal people out there, all my girls, that are just like doom scrolling because you're just so like being fed constantly content after content, and it's just like this never ending scroll. And I realized I'm contributing to that and how much I'm pouring into platform. And that's when I felt cornered to really look all of my life in the eye in a way where I realized I needed to really take a step back, and I needed to take this time here in this hotel room to do what I have not been able to do, truthfully, since having 3 kids, and even before that, to really sit with God and to really go to the mountaintop, which is what this has felt like, and to really look at everything over the last decade plus and say to the Lord, okay, God, like what is the point of all of this? Like, where are we going? Beyond monetary and the success that is in these places and spaces, like, God, I need to see the longevity of like why I'm here. You know, with content creation, it's so interesting because it does feel like anyone and everyone can do it nowadays. You know what I mean? But the reality is like the whole thing about following the trends and doing all the videos that are like popping off. What is the actual point of those videos? I went through a journey this year where I was able to kind of experiment and to play and to test things out. And I kept coming back to my North Star. My North Star is Jesus. And how in the world can I continue, Lord, to point people to you in these places and spaces? And I just have to say, it's not easy to share such a personal thing like your faith, especially as you grow and as you get people from different places, different beliefs, different views coming onto your pages and engaging with your content. And I will say I have gone through the ebbs and the flows of all of it, where I've questioned things, where I haven't wanted to make people feel like they're not welcome here, where I've questioned, God, what can I say? What can I not say? When do I put the tape over my mouth and shut up? And when do I speak about the things that I feel like you're putting on my heart? I have gone through that entire journey this last year plus by walking away from long form content and just strictly doing this whole Instagram thing. And what I have found is that here I am back on YouTube, because genuinely, you guys, I don't have a plan for this platform, but I will say it is in my soul as somebody who loves to share, loves to connect with you guys. I needed long form content back for myself and just pulling the curtain back, like, come on, let's just get back to the roots and the basics of sharing and being real and just super authentic. And I have just missed it. Being on these platforms, y'all, I was so ready to throw the towel in. You know, despite me missing long form content, I really had to look at the things in my life and say, Saz, what's gonna give, what's gonna take? Like, real talk. What is it that you really now want to focus on in your life? It's like, you're 35 years old. Like, if you're gonna do this, if you're gonna do anything, like, you better make it worth it, because if it's pulling you away from your babies, then it better be something that you genuinely feel called to be doing. And so I have spent the last several years of my content creator life really dipping my toe into different things. I have really tried to honestly find the exit door from this whole social media thing. I have had so much success here, and last year was one of the best years that I've had, understanding the craft, understanding the beast that is social media, but also being able to make a living off of it. I feel like I really nailed that in the last decade I've been doing this, and that stream of revenue is not running dry by all means. But I had a very real encounter with the Lord when I was here. And that encounter really opened my eyes to see that things have got to change, and how I'm going to choose to step into these places and spaces and platforms, and how I'm going to hopefully breathe and pour life and joy and, you know, excitement back into the lives of those who I feel like follow me. You ladies who have goals, dreams, ambitions, I know that so many of you too feel the same thing I feel, despite us being in 2 totally separate paths of life. I know that we're all feeling the overwhelm of things, overstimulated. Social media, our day-to-day lives, the touch points of motherhood, trying to put our best foots forward, but then feeling like we're coming up short day in and day out. This weird sort of like feeling of like, am I doing enough? This feeling of like, Lord, I miss you. Why can't I spend time with you? Why do I overcomplicate my time with you? I mean, I just feel too in the spirit realm, there are so many things that are just tugging away at our souls, trying to distract us and deter us and to take us away from the love of God, from the love of the relationships around us and to try to disconnect and detach us from the most important things in this world, which are our relationships. And it is the love of God and having Him in our lives. The most important thing for me in this season of my life is going to be pouring into the relationships around me. It has nothing to actually do with me. When I came to this hotel, I was definitely feeling really depleted and exhausted, coming off the holidays, coming off of just a really busy 2024 year. We moved, we've got 3 kids with all different unique schedules. And then Stevie and I even have felt like our marriage took a hit this past year from just all of the things. I came back to the top of this mountaintop place in my walk with the Lord. And I just said, God, I need you. I miss you and I need you. And when I came to that very real place with the Lord, that's the place in my walk with the Lord. When you have to completely let every single thing go, surrender your whole life, everything that you know. When you just lay everything out there for God to take and to do whatever He wants to do, that was the moment that I had here at this hotel when it was quiet, I was by myself, and I finally felt like prayers I've been praying for were just answered by being in the presence of God. My quiet time with the Lord this year was so non-existent. At the end of a long day, when I would just sit and think about God and be like, Lord, I did not get any time with you today. I just felt like God always brought me back to this peaceful place and knowing it's okay. I'm not mad at you, And so I would just continue to keep going. But what I noticed with that pattern was of just not pursuing Him in my day-to-day, I started noticing the rhythm of my life changing, the pace becoming a little quicker, starting to anxiously move about, feeling almost numb to some of the feelings and the experiences and the joys and the celebrations happening, and just kind of okay, on to the next thing. And so I'll say that even with moving to Tennessee, there is a very vulnerable place that you reach when you're moving. It's one of the top 3 most emotional, stressful things after the death of a loved one and a divorce. Moving is number 3 on the most emotionally taxing, stressful things that you can do. But that whole thing too was such a God-driven thing that I just felt like I got hit by so many things, especially in the last quarter of the past year, that it really forced me to come to the end of myself again and to face the Father in a way that is not scary, but it's like a child that comes running to their mom and dad when they think they've got everything under control, and then you somehow stumble, you get hurt, and you get tired, you get depleted, and all you want to do when you're in that place is to go run to the Father. And that's what this 2 days has been. Stevie booked this trip, by the way, this little staycation for me, in advance. It's God knew that at the start of January 2025, I was gonna need to get away because I have been drinking out of a fire hose. I know that I'm not the only person out there that is going through all of the feels, the motions, the real stuff that we cannot always scroll and experience and share on Instagram. And that's what led me to get back into the seat of just sharing this long form video. Now, some of you don't have kids yet, and I will say, let me fix this, that there is a blessing with that, and that is peace of mind and quiet time that you can have right in your apartment or just going into another room in your house. It's kind of hysterical that I have to actually spend the top of this year really soaking up this present, because as sweet as motherhood is, there's no way I could have locked myself in our guest room and had the time with God that I have had here. I felt like there was something about knowing I was coming to this hotel, getting away, and really wanting to sit and dwell and pray and worship and be in the presence of God, and to give Him that time and to say Lord, I have missed you. And it felt that exact way. And so I know too that the other side of that coin is not everybody has the privilege of getting to just go stay at a hotel for 2 days. And I get it. It's not always, cost effective. But I thought, what I can do in this moment, in this time, through this video, is to share what the Lord did in this room, to pick me up back on my feet. When Steve dropped me off at this hotel, we went and had lunch before he went back to the kids. And when I sat with him at lunch, it's like that feeling when you just don't know why, but you just want to cry. You feel this like, why do I feel the weight of the world on my shoulders? Why do I just feel depleted emotionally, mentally, physically? And then you start looking around and you start trying to blame game the things in your life that it could be the cause of. And I should have done this and that, when really at the source of all of these things that we're trying to find satisfaction in, you realize nothing in this world will satisfy. Nothing. That feeling of like that hunger in your soul for peace and true just like rest. And that is because the only relationship that can satisfy that hole, to fill that hole, is our relationship with God, our creator. And some of you guys who are watching this video have been in my life for the last decade plus. Many of us have gone on our faith journeys together. Some of you guys are believers, and some of you guys come from a totally different religious belief and background. And I just want to say that there is a place at this table on my channel for each and every single person to come here. And when I talk about God and I talk about my relationship with Jesus with so much passion, it's not because I want to exclude anybody or because I want to make anybody feel forced to believe what I believe. And I think that's what I have wrestled with so much as somebody who has shared her life on the internet, is knowing, God, where do I create safe boundaries, invite others into this world that I love to share and pour into, God, but also I don't want to offend anybody or hurt anybody. He's just showing me how to completely walk in the freedom of knowing Jesus and also worshiping God and praising the Lord, not just in song form, but in all those areas of my life that he has blessed abundantly. But I had a very real encounter with the Lord here at this hotel. When I walked into this little experiment of just like tucking away for 2 days to just be with God, I genuinely felt like I don't even know how to do that. Like, what is that gonna look like? One of the first things he did when I walked into this room, in the quietness of this room, he invited me to literally go sit right there on that couch. He invited me to just sit. And I took that step and I sat and I was like, okay. And it was quiet and I just sat there for a little bit and I was thinking, okay, now what? I then opened up my Bible and I started just reading. And as I'm reading, my brain is still racing a million miles per hour, because it's not easy to just go from being used to always like this and then, you know, having your kids and all the things, and then when you get a moment to truly just like unplug everything and just sit, I really felt like I had to retrain myself in that moment. The next thing the Lord wanted me to do was like play worship music. And so I turned up the worship music, and what I did was I worshiped in the presence of God. I turned up the music and I just sat there with my eyes closed. And as I sat there, I just noticed the layers of like, felt like, you know, when you wear tons of layers in the cold, I just felt like the layers were coming off. And every layer, every security blanket that I had put over myself, every wall, it just started coming down. I started to feel this lightness again as I was sitting and just in the presence of God, listening to the words of this beautiful worship song. And as I sat there and I listened to these words, and as I'm in the spirit, like meditating and just inviting God in, that is where the tears just started to pour down my face. And I started crying because I had realized just how much I needed him and how much I missed him, truthfully. And I then started to get into my worship and realize, okay, I feel like I need to just right now, just like get on my knees. And so I got on my knees and I just, like a baby curled up on the floor, I just started like worshiping the Lord and crying. And as I'm just in the realest possible state that I can be with God, I just felt him embracing me. I felt like he was hugging me, like a father or a mother hugs and holds onto their child when they are running to them at full speed and just like sobbing. I felt the Father just holding me right then and there in that moment, reminding me that he's always been right there. And I just embraced his embrace. And I just remember in the spirit, just like asking the Lord, I said, God, I want you to reveal yourself to me again. I want you to show me your face again, because I have clearly forgotten, and I have clearly forgotten who you are, to get to this place where you're just like, what? This simple act of just being with the Father. There's no noise, there's no distractions. The outside world feels like it's light years away, and here I am on the mountaintops with you, God. How did I get to this place where I'm just like, I need you? Why did I ever leave you? Like, what? You almost feel blindsided by your own just ways of doing life and trying to live on this earth, knowing that it's not heaven, knowing that it's never going to be heaven, and knowing that our flesh is always going to pull us in the worldly ways of doing things. And so here I was feeling like I was finally right then and there back at the center where I knew I should have always stayed tethered to the Father. I could feel him, but I was like, I want to see you, God. And I had a very real encounter in the spirit with the Lord, and he spoke to me. And you know what he said? He said, you don't have to look far to find me. I'm right here. And in fact, just go look in the mirror, because you're going to see that I created you. And you were created in my image. Therefore, you are my daughter. Now rise on your feet. And I immediately felt, from going into this place of wallow and pity and sort of like lamenting and tending to this invisible grave, I felt like the Lord said, rise. And something about that power in that moment for me just changed everything. Like, I can't even tell you. It was almost like it was almost like he was putting a new robe over me, a new blanket. It was like a new outfit in the spirit. And he said, you will rise. And after I worshiped and had that encounter with the Lord, I finally had the peace to, pick up my pen and paper and to just sit there as I'm continuing to let the worship music play. And I said, okay, God, what do you want me to do? Felt like I was now inviting him into my life, my plans. It sounds so silly, especially to anyone watching this that's like, you've never had a conversation with the Lord, or maybe you've never even thought to reach out to God and to experience the realness of the Lord. The fact that he is a living, breathing God who, yes, you can have that access to. It's very two-sided. It's not a one-directional God where you have to constantly pray to him, seek him, and there's no communication back. No, like, that's the one thing I have found in Jesus, is that freedom where he talks back and God speaks in and through, knowing Jesus. Like, it's crazy, let me tell you. So here I am now, and I'm sitting with God, and I'm like, okay, now what? This is very real. It felt even more real than I'd have ever encountered him, his presence, especially in a season of my life right now where I'm really like, okay, God, if now is the time, like, let's go. Like, I need you to speak. I need you to guide me here. And I'm just tired of doing things by my own speed, by my own energy. It's not it. That's just not how this is going to go. I just know that God's got to show me how we're going to do this. It felt like, let's create that plan together here. And so what he did yesterday in me, I have pages, and I'm not going to go too deep into them. And I'm sharing this because I feel like some of you guys can't go to a hotel and tuck away, but if you have a quiet place, or you can ask somebody you love to come help you babysit your kids so that you can have a room to yourself where you can lock the door and turn up your worship, I say do it. Because I know God is not only doing this in my life, but he is also trying to pursue you guys as well in your lives. And I know he has so much that he wants to say to you. I know he has so much that he wants to show you too. So I'm going to say that what I did in this space, I will share it as inspiration. And also, if you want to just boldly walk out in faith and say, what do I have to lose, you know? And so I was just like, God, I want to know you more. Tell me more, tell me more. And when I sat there on the couch, I literally felt like the Holy Spirit was telling me to write down, which I did, who was Jesus, ? And I started writing those things. I wrote, he's a son, he was man, he was God, he was a friend, he was a teacher, a carpenter, a healer, a speaker, a servant, and he was also an outsider. I felt the Holy Spirit then say, now what about his characteristics and his traits? Well, I could go on, and I did, and I was like, he's compassionate, patient, slow to anger, love, wise, unafraid. Jesus was committed, he was relational, he was unashamed, he was courageous, friendly, humble, empathetic, real, hospitable, simple, graceful. He was good, he was reliable, he was merciful, he was powerful, he was strong, he was selfless. In the Spirit, I felt like I needed to then write, well, who was Jesus not? What wasn't he? And I said, well, he wasn't arrogant, he wasn't egotistical, he wasn't judgmental, he wasn't a gossiper, he wasn't selfish or greedy, he wasn't fake or artificial, he wasn't exempt from pain or struggle or persecution. Jesus wasn't chasing happiness or fame or followers or likes. Jesus wasn't hesitant, he wasn't weak, he wasn't lost, he wasn't a quitter, he wasn't flashy, he wasn't rich and monetary, and he wasn't mean, he wasn't angry, he wasn't prideful, and he wasn't consumed. He was not consumed by the ways of the world, by people, by noise, by distraction, by just the vicious cycle of repeat that we see time and time again in this world. And then that got me to writing, well, but Jesus also experienced overwhelm, he experienced sadness, just like you and me. He experienced exhaustion, he experienced pain, mental, physical, and spiritual. He experienced haters and scrutiny and hunger and temptation. He had to walk through the freaking desert hungry, fasting, and the enemy would come and try to tempt him and say, you can have all of this, you can have the whole world right there. And Jesus said, no, Satan, go away. Like, he was never tempted, even though temptation did come. And then he was also like, he had to deal with Satan, the trolls, you know? He had to deal with death. He had to deal with betrayal and abandonment by man. He had to deal with being made fun of. Jesus had to also experience blood, sweat, and tears. Jesus also had to experience loss and grief, you know? After I wrote this whole page, you know, I then felt like the Lord and in the Spirit said to me, now it's your turn. And I was like, what? And I felt like the next part of this exercise was God saying to me, well, who is Sazan now? Just like I had to write, well, who is Jesus? And I wrote, well, I'm a daughter, I'm a mother, I'm a friend, I'm a granddaughter, I'm an aunt, I'm a businesswoman, I'm a niece, I'm a creator, I'm a wife. You go to the next step, which was the characteristics about myself. And why was it so hard for me to not feel awkward or ashamed about writing things about myself that I should be proud of? Like, what in the world is wrong with you, Saz? Why are you shy, you know? And so I took some time in this section, but then I finally got it out of me with the, you know, strength of the Lord being the wind in my sails here. And I wrote down, well, I'd like to think that I'm compassionate and hardworking and loyal and funny and creative and brave and hospitable and honest, caring, pretty, passionate, and a justice warrior. And I said in parentheses, that's a good thing and a bad thing sometimes for me, you know. And then I felt like the Lord told me to share like the things that I felt like were my kind of flaws. So like where I wrote on for Jesus's side, like what Jesus was not, I kind of needed to face the reality of like, what are those things in my life that I feel like I know that's not who I am, but somehow, some way I fall into the trap of these words and these things. And that's where it got so real in this exercise, when I realized that some of these feelings that I struggle with, inadequacy, feeling like Sometimes I'm very hesitant. I do feel like I struggle with like being rushed and pushed around, like go, go, go. I feel a bit like, yes, I'm a perfectionist. I feel selfish sometimes when I'm like my career sometimes feels very selfish. It's hard. In the social media space, it feels like it's all about me, me, me. And I'm like, I don't like that thought when there's so much more that I know I can give to the world and there I go again, overthinking that when God is like, I've placed you here for a reason. Now, stand on your feet and shine. I am very quick to snap sometimes, like at my kids. I feel like I think I'm patient, and then I realize I'm so humbled in the moment when I realize I'm actually not, and my reflex is so quick to snap. Sometimes believe in the enemy's lies. I really do, until God literally wakes me up and reminds me, wait, how did you get, like what Saz, how did I get in this web of lies by the enemy? And it's just like puts me in funks. Those are lies from the enemy. I feel like the Lord has done a good job to like continue to pursue me when I feel like I'm not pursuing him, or when I've forgotten about the Lord and he's just still there. And he has given me so much grace and mercy and love, even in the seasons when I'm so drenched in all of it. And another thing is like, I feel like I can be sometimes, like it's hard for me sometimes, like I can be quick to speak and not like slow to listen. Like if me and Steve are having an argument, like I'm so quick to that justice warrior side that's like, well, no. And I'm just like, I know that that's a flaw. It is, because it comes from a place of fear. And fear is another thing. Fear and being afraid sometimes put that protection that you create to like, be super controlling in arguments. Like you want to be able to steer the conversation where you want it to go, but that's all coming from fear, and you ultimately cannot control people. That's what God is like continuing to show me and teach me, is like, whether it's in marriage or in business or in any relationship, even with my children, as much as, we feel it's our duty, right? You are not responsible to control and to dictate anybody in your life. And so that's really hard for me, because I grew up in a home where it was very much the shame, honor, that was it. It was about, honoring and following the rules and laws of what was built in the home by my parents. And so I've had to really work on years of undoing a lot of that to see like, you're not going to control people. You're not going to control changing other people, Sazan. Your only control is over yourself, and to get a hold of that. And so that's an area that I struggled with. And God went on and on in this session. It was like one of the most cleansing, therapeutic, real moments in my walk with God, when I just felt like, wow, I needed this. What it ultimately led me to was this really sweet page. And it says at the top of it, compassion starts here. And I know I wrote that, but I know it wasn't like when I was writing all this, I was just like word vomit. I was like, where is this all coming from, right? And it's like the Holy Spirit like knows exactly what to say to you in the right moment in time. And so that compassion starts here. That word compassion really was like the center of this entire page, because while I was like, okay, Lord, I see all my flaws now, and I see what you want me to see, like now what do I need to be doing? And God just like totally turned it around, and it was no longer about me. In fact, it was about what do they need. And by they, he had me write down the list of the most important relationships in my life to date. And that is God at number one, my husband, my babies, my friends and family, Sweetie, my precious dog, as funny and silly as that may sound, she's been on my heart. And then my online followers. Like that relationship is a relationship. And God had me write down these 6 relationships. And then I felt it in my heart that there's nothing I love more than being able to pour just love and light. And the Lord just immediately replenished this place in my spirit where I've created pressure, where I've put a lot of expectations and just overwhelm and anxiety. And he just released all of it and said, it is not going to be that complicated. And I'm just like, okay. I opened up my Bible and immediately thought of Romans 12:13, and that's what I wrote down next. I said, share with the Lord's people who are in need, practice hospitality. And it starts in the simplest of ways. It does not have to be these larger than life things that sometimes I make up in my head. When I wrote Stevie's name down, I started playing our wedding song, Holocene by Bon Iver. I walked down the aisle to it. We're about to celebrate 10 years of marriage this year. And when I started with Stevie at the top, after my relationship with God, I made a list of ways that I want to pour into my relationship with him this year. Real, tangible, simple, practical ways that I can breathe life and joy and hope and restoration into that relationship with my significant other. I feel like I'm not ashamed to share these things straight from my heart. I want to rewrite my vows. I want to identify the goal in our marriage together. That is so important. And I feel like we haven't necessarily pinpointed, like, what is our goal in this marriage together? I want to love and cherish you. That's what I wrote specifically to him. I want to take care of you physically, check on you mentally. I want to follow your lead and support you. I want to pray for you every day. I want to carve out time just for you. I want to give you authority and trust you and trust God. And I want to rest in you when I need to, because God has given me you and you are a true gift. And I want to lastly enjoy the little things with you. When kids happen and when life happens, let's face it, it's so easy to pass your significant other by. It's so easy to forget the importance of nurturing each other's needs and love languages. And so I just had a very real, heartfelt, I was seriously crying in this moment as I was writing all these things, sort of reestablishing and restoring my role in this relationship with my husband, and how I want to show up for him more, and how I want to put my own needs aside to nurture that seed, because that is the most important thing. That all things and all relationships, like our kids and their relationships, like that's where it's all coming from, is from like mom and dad at the top. And when God is at the center of that, that covenant, like you're not alone in keeping your relationship in check and humbling yourselves amongst each other and being vulnerable together, and that all comes from love. And that love is crafted not by, my husband's hot and it's the way he looks, or the worldly things that say what love is. If you love me, I'll love you. No, it's saying like, I choose you. I choose you. That's what marriage is. It's I am choosing you. It's not saying I will choose you if. When we step into marriage, in a Christian marriage, when you take that vow, when you look each other in the eyes before God, before your friends and family, you are saying, I choose you. I choose you today. I choose you tomorrow. And when the winds and the waves and the storms come, as they have, and they will, you continue to say, I choose you. Both parties, both people being able to stand behind that decision of saying, I choose you, no matter what. That is probably the most epic revelation that I've had in this 10 years of marriage. And now I'm really realizing, if you don't pour into that and water that seed, it is going to turn into a drought. You're going to pass each other by. You're going to sadly miss each other, and you're not going to do anything about it because you're busy. The kids, the touch points, the job, the thises, the that's, and no, enough is enough. You have to be able to say no. It starts right here with you and me, and everything else comes after that. Even our kids, who we love more than anything, trust. Our kids need to be able to have that established, strong relationship that mom and dad love each other and that they're taking care of one another. And why? Because when we are taking care of us, we are going to be able to take better care of you. We're going to be able to exemplify and show you what love is, what it means, and how to create that safe security that I think kids want more than anything. And that's for mom and dad to be solid. And I'll say Stevie and I, our marriage has been so precious and so beautiful, and the enemy hates it. He hates that we're married. He has tried to rip us apart from the moment that we started dating. with my family, with so many other variables that have happened since. And he continues. The enemy continues to try to create distance in my marriage. I've seen that, and that's very real. And what I will say to that is, when God is at the center and when God is the matchmaker, when you know God brought that person into your life, oh, there is nothing that Satan can do to try to break that. And yes, the seasons will come. You'll feel divided at times. You'll feel disconnected, and you'll definitely feel distance. But what brings you back together is that love and that mutual understanding of like, I choose you. And so that's where Stevie and I are in our marriage. We've just been so go and busy that like, I just don't have enough time some days and nights to just sit with my husband and to say like, babe, how are you? Like, what can I be doing to pray for you? You know, how can I support you? And like this year, I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but this year, you know, Stevie has a lot of things that he wants to pour into. And I will say that I've had the last decade plus of being able to do so many incredible things in my path, in my career, but it has taken, I wouldn't have been able to do any of that without the support of my husband. Stevie is somebody who I love and admire so much that I just feel like God is at a place now where he's starting to kind of switch our roles a little bit. I want to tuck away a little bit more and really dive into my family and my kids and my husband, continuing to share, obviously, those things inspiring me and those sweet little hobbies I pick up along the way that I can share with y'all. But I'm noticing that like, it feels like the tides have turned a little bit, and I need to be okay with the changes that are coming. And I genuinely am so at peace about it, because when I look at this list of like ways to pour into my relationships, like my husband, even taking my dog on daily walks, like that is so hard to do. Things like that, like, and just communicating the areas in which I need more support and help too. Seeing all of this, I'm like, wow, I'm excited for this year. I'm excited, and it's nothing crazy or larger than life, but like on Teeny's list, I'm excited to, you know, teach her fun new things. I'm excited to invite her into my world more, and vice versa. I'm excited to teach her more Kurdish this year and more about my heritage. With Amari, you know, she's such a creative type that I'm just excited to sit with her more in the day-to-day and to go into the creative world of Amari with her and color. It's these 5-minute detours in my day where I'm seeing God pour in and breathe life. It's not the larger than life things. It's not in the distractions. It's not in the future. It's in the now. What is this gonna all look like? Truthfully, I don't know. I took a year off of YouTube and I thought I was gonna turn the lights out. But I have just felt like the Lord is telling me, Saz, you cannot diminish the light that you know I wanna shine through you. And I'm just starting to really let go of all of the things that have sort of kept me so bottled up from just doing this and just talking and being real and going on rants and tangents and taking our time to just sit. Because my prayer, my goal is that, I don't know if this is gonna reach one person or 1 million people, but that's not up to me to decide. God is just asking me to show up and be a light. And that makes me excited. That's where passion and ambition for me live and rest, is knowing that my North Star in Jesus and in God, he's not done with me. He can use me for good, whether it's in my sweet little home or it's across the internet and social media. The darkness needs to diminish. We need to be able to cast our light, whatever that is. Like, this whole video for me has not been about just updating you guys on my life updates and like, okay, like we moved. I feel like I have so much that I can pour into these places and spaces if I just let go and let God. That's really what it comes down to. And to be bold and courageous and not afraid and not look at the numbers. Who cares who sees the video and who doesn't? And I believe that he's saying that to so many of you young ladies out there. I feel like a grandma a little bit in this space, because I started when I was literally, like I said, 19, 20 years old. And I have seen this, the evolution of my life from no babies to marriage, to fashion and beauty, to lifestyle, to candles, to subscription box company. Like, God has taken me through this ebb and flow journey But the through line for me that has kept me in this for as long as I have been in this, and it's not the money, because some of you might be saying, well, it's the money. If it was the money, I probably could have stopped doing this a long time ago, if I'm being real, because there's ways that you can be smart with the money that you've made here, and you can invest and you can live passive income, you can do all those things. Girl, it is not about the money for me at this point. To have to get all ready to go and to have to put your life on the internet, to have to open up parts of yourself that you know are hard, but the Lord is nudging you to do it anyway. You know how hard that is, and it is not for the money. And last year my verse was Esther 4:14. Perhaps you were created for a time such as this. And I remember I went through the entire year of 2024 wondering, what does that mean, God? Why in the world did you put that verse? It's such a powerful verse to say, in which like Esther was a queen. Like, I'm not trying to boost myself and say I'm Esther over here who literally saved her people. I think for me, what he finally tapped into in this room, in this space, was showing me why I was created for a time such as this. And he's not asking me to go over here and launch this business and to start this thing or to escape social media. No, he's telling me to continue to be present where my feet are and to continue to shine a light. I just feel like where we're heading in this world, being more and more AI driven, I'm like, gosh, I feel like as believers and as just people who are creative types, like, you really want to go the opposite direction and just be more authentic intelligence instead of artificial. Because these are the connections and the moments that make social media feel so real and so beautiful. And so for me being here back on long form, I took a year off, and you can tell I had so much, like, felt like word vomit. I just had so much on my chest that I needed to get out. The start of 2025, right here, it happens. It's this moment right here for me. I don't know what God's gonna do with this YouTube channel, and I don't know what he's gonna do when I launch my podcast. I'm really trying to get that going, but I do know that God has given me this newfound joy and vigor in my heart to really share the joy and the enthusiasm and the love and the light and the realness of God in our lives. And I believe I saw this in, when I was in the Word yesterday. I just kept reading over and over again. I just kept seeing like the Lord showing me his joy and his playfulness and his enthusiasm. Like, where we are searching for happiness and all these worldly things, like, I hate to break it to all of us, like, we're not gonna find it. When I reach that milestone, or when I hate to say it because I've been there, it's not there. It's like you open up the treasure chest and it's empty, and you're like, what? I thought the jewels of joy were gonna be right here in this moment. That's what I was holding out for. Those jewels of joy, it's in the now. It's in your child's baby breath in the morning. It's it's in, the brushstrokes of brushing my daughter's hair. It's in the conversations that I have when I pick up the phone. This is so millennial of me. Calling my friends, having people come over, hosting and gathering, and it's in the dinner that I put on the table for my family. It's in the encouragement that I give my husband. It's in walking with the Lord each and every single day and saying to him, God, what is it that you want me to see today? Show me what I'm not seeing. And it's like, forget the freaking worldly FOMO. Like, let's forget about it this year, and let's rise on our feet, and let's start looking for the things in our life that God doesn't want us to miss out on. Let's look for the opportunities of just being present where we are right now, despite not being where we want to be, and loving our lives. Because guess what? We all woke up in 2025 alive. That is a gift. That is the promise that God has hope for your life. There is so much more to come, and I am so excited to go on that journey with you guys. It's time. It is time to fight for the light and to be the light and to not hold back. And that's exactly what I want you guys to keep me accountable for this year. As sweet as this moment is, I'm going back to reality here pretty soon, and it's gonna get noisy, it's gonna get loud, the enemy's gonna come knocking as he does. So we're gonna rise on our feet and we're gonna do this thing, okay? I don't know what all of it's gonna look like, and I still need to update you guys on all of the stuff for why we moved and all that. But for now, cheers to 2025, fam. Wish me luck. This is my little vow to you guys that I'm back on the long form train. Do not know what it's gonna look like, but God has a plan, so let's freaking go. Or I should say, I don't know why this is gonna make me cry. Let's do this. Let's do this! Some of you guys are new and you're like, what does that even mean? That's the way that I always start my tutorials here on this channel and a video. And I stopped saying that. I stopped saying that. I didn't know then what I know now, a decade later, that those 3 words, let's do this. Let's. Yes, God. Let's. You and me. And you guys. Let's do this. Let's be a light. Let's shine our light. You guys have a light inside of you that's freaking radiating, and I'm going to inspire and encourage and pray that the Lord gives me the wisdom, the creativity to help you shine that light in your communities, in your households, in your marriages, in your friendships. I mean, come on, let's go. We need this. So yeah, let's do this. Woo! That felt good.